Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another presentation here of our broadcast in the Issues Room here on Facebook, but we're also on YouTube, Twitter, or formerly Twitter, now called X and LinkedIn. Tonight is our 244th broadcast, and we'd like to thank you for joining us here tonight. If you are there, please let us know that you're in the chat room. It will be important for us to recognize you. Also, when the line is open, rather, you have the opportunity to call in and participate during the broadcast. So, again, thank you so much. It's always good to have you folks here with us, and no better way to put it but to encourage you to share our link as it is right now. We're looking forward to having a lot of folks here tonight because we're going to be covering an array of conversation topics, rather, in the conversation. We're going to look at justice, accountability, and the rule of law. But of course, the bullets there are corruption, persecution of officials of past administrations, and of course, asset recovery. There are other things in trending news I'd like to emphasize. I have a, you know, uh, press statement here, or press release actually, press video, put it that way, with Jefferson Koji, the Secretary General of the CDC, held a press conference where he's accusing President Bouaka of carrying on mass massacre. So that's something important to talk about with such wild and outlandish way of propagating so early. It's kind of compelling the whole conversation around that. And also, I have another clip that we carry. I won't disclose that yet until we are deep into the conversation. And I also want to make a quick stock comparison with Rwanda and Liberia. I was able to look at if some pictures coming in regarding the new airport that Rwanda is building, about $2 billion airport in Kigali, and want to make the comparison with Liberia and the terminal bill, and it was called a new airport. So let me bring in my colleagues, Volcano Shelton here with you guys. Alphonso Yeno, welcome to the show. Moses Sandy, welcome. It's good to have you guys. Gentlemen, hey.
It's a
Alphonso,
pleasure.
Alfonso,
Yeah,
you're muted.
thank you. Yeah, thank you, Volcano and Moses. Glad to be with you both this evening.
Yeah, Moses, you kind of freeze. I don't know where you Moses, your connectivity is bad.
Yes.
You are freezing.
Are you hearing? Do you hear?
Moses, you are freezing.
I think it is from that. I'm hearing you guys. Do you hear me?
Moses, your conversation is freezing. Your image, your voice, everything is freezing. Go ahead, Alfonso.
Yeah, no, I say great to be here with you guys. Obviously, the topic introduced is exciting, and I hope our listeners can join us. But these are very important topics, and it's important for us as journalists and also for the public to throw light on these very critical issues: the issue of accountability and the rule of law, the issue of holding former government officials accountable for the theft of the country's resources. Um, and of course good governance even in this current government, so not just holding former government officials accountable, but also holding themselves and people in this government accountable as well. Liberia is struggling. Liberia has suffered for decades and even I would say longer because of corruption in government and a lack of accountability. And these are critical. It's very important. If we must move forward, we have to address these abuses in society. So I'm glad to be here and to have that conversation with you all and with our listeners.
Yeah, let's hope Moses will have his situation ratified and be back here. But there are a few things I want to also, talk about quickly before we go into the conversation itself. This whole issue of, legislators having their employees where they hire a certain number of people. From the breakdown we heard the other day, each uh, representative in the House has 15 persons on their staff. Funati Kofa, I think, has about 69 to 70, while Thomas Fowler, that includes himself. And then Thomas Fowler is about 72 to 73. But these are people who don't even have website functioning. These are people who don't have means of communicating with their constituencies, meaning where the constituents can call in or grieve. There's no functioning conduit through which the people can reach them and back and forth. And then you have all these people on salaries being paid. So it came to my mind asking, what is the impact of the functionaries if they have all these people, and what are their expertise? What are they doing? The speaker to have all those people, the deputy speaker to have all those people, and each representative having all those people. So just thinking about some of the things, Alfonso, you talk, like I mentioned, functioning website. Who is the IT guy? Who's making sure that this man has his own personal website, like it would be in other government or in other countries? What is the medium of communication? All of these things. How does he get back to the people, his constituents? Thomas Father lived predominantly in Monrovia. The man left Lofa since the election. But let me bring Moses back in. I hope it's better. Moses, are you good?
Yes. Do you hear me now?
Yeah, but your volume is too loud. Is there a way
Okay.
reduce that a bit? Yeah, because it's like pounding in my ear.
Okay. Do you hear me now?
I'm hearing you, but it's too loud. Just
It's still too loud.
yes, and
Okay.
too loud.
How you say now?
It's still loud, very loud. It's speaking.
I don't know what's going on.
But then you got to push the mic far from you if you have a microphone, because it's
Okay.
yeah.
Do you hear me now?
Moses, it's not a matter of hearing you. Yes, we can hear you. Just
Is it still too loud?
it is. Maybe you're doing something else there to
I don't know.
okay, it's extremely, but Alfonso, right? It's loud because I'm using
Yeah.
earpiece and like blocking me.
Is it too loud?
Moses, we can't be fixing things on the show. Let's just bear through it. Yeah.
I
So
don't, I
Alfonso,
don't know what's going on. I really don't know what's going on this evening, but I want to say it's a pleasure always coming to join you guys. Tonight is another important discussion, looking at some of the woes, the trending issues that most Liberians are concerned about, the woes of the Boaka administration, the we administration, all those terrible things, So I'm happy to be here to form part of this very important discussion.
so as Alfonso, as I was saying, so
Mhm, mhm.
that's
Yeah,
what I was thinking. What's your take?
that's a very, very important point that you've raised. The reason why these people were given this money, the reason why this provision was made, it's so they can honor their duty and responsibility of their office of providing services to their constituents and of creating an avenue for the constituents to communicate with them and for them to troubleshoot problems in their constituencies. You just talk about Thomas Fowler coming from Foya district, for instance. Does he even have a constituency office in his district? Does he have communications? Does he have cell phones and stuff? So when there's a situation where his people want to communicate with him, they can do so. You know, the speaker is from Grand Creek County. He's representing a district in Grand Creek County. Does he have those services there? When you in this country, when you go to any representative's constituency office, they have all of the structure. They have staff for immigration purposes. They have staff for healthcare. They have staff for all the different functions and services that they're supposed to be rendering to their constituents. So you can go there and talk to the staff member responsible for each of those key areas. And then the staff member then passes it on to the principal. If the principal is in Washington, D.C., as is with the federal government, if the principal, as in Pennsylvania, is in Harrisburg, as with the state assembly or the state senate, then they pass those things on to those people and they solve those problems.
And
The
not only
problem,
that, let me just add. So the constituency
uh-huh,
office will send it to the people who are in the senator or the representative office. Then they
hmm
will compile all of that now and have a
yep,
meeting with their person who is representing them. That
yep,
person can take it to committee and then maybe
yep,
bring it to the floor. But
exactly.
none of these things are happening. And then
Yeah.
they just got all these people, they
Mhm.
just put them on payroll. What type of country is this?
And who are they even? And who are those people that are hiring? And as you said, what are their expertise in these different areas? So they're putting their girlfriends, their boyfriends, their relatives on payroll. Consequently, nothing is being accomplished. I mean, how many senators or representatives offices have you heard have put forth any policy prescription, have talked about, have done any research about the issues impacting, their constituents in their communities and how to resolve them? One of the reasons is they themselves don't even know what to do. Worse, they're hiring people who also don't know what to do. So they just run around and make noise in the street every day, as Yeke Koluba and other people are doing. But there's no, for example, what is the policy from his district, from many other districts, regarding how to address education, how to address crime, how to address healthcare in their districts and those kinds of things? How to address the economy in their districts, the market women are selling in the street, the wheelbarrow boys, the people that are walking around noise, the people that are walking around screaming and yelling 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning. How you improving their working conditions in this? They're not talking about it because A, they don't even know what to do. B, they don't have the expertise. B, they're not hiring people who have the expertise to do some of these things. So they just run around and run in the street and make noise and ride keke and pass around, and they think they're representing the whole country while neglecting their constituents in the constituencies that they represent. That is a fundamental problem in our legislature, and that's why we're not really moving forward. The legislature is supposed to come up with those policy prescriptions and stuff, pass them into law, but also hold the central government, the implementing arm, which is executive, accountable and responsible to ensuring that the programs are implemented in their various districts. But I don't even know what to do. How many times have you heard a representative talk about how come there's no water or there's no toilet in my district? No, they're not talking about that because they don't even know their jobs and they don't have staff members
Not only
that
that,
will help them
not,
do those jobs.
not only that they don't know the job, they barely go back there. But Moses, let me pick you here. So again, I know you've been going in and out, but what I was saying was I lied there the other day, and I was thinking after calculating this number of people who are employees in the deputy speaker, in the speaker, in each representative office, and yet you can't find anything on them. You go looking, you can't find nothing. So what are the expertise of these people they hire? What are the functionaries within the confines of the offices that need, the need to manage, and they're bringing the right people on board? For instance, Yeka Koluba, he would just call the press and just talk and cuss up people. Does he have a communication specialist or expert who will sit with him and say, hey, this topic and the way you're going to go is not, it's not going to go right? Or let's just put a press release on this instead of. So why paying all these people all this money and depriving other Liberians an opportunity who have the skill set, who have the education to work?
Well, Volcano, the problem you guys are making reference to goes beyond the national legislature. Uh, I'm sure we can agree to some extent that recruitment in government is not about competence. It's just about, people trying to satisfy people they consider the fanatics, the blind followers, the people that will not say they have honest conversation with them. Because when you have honest conversation with any of them, then now they consider you to be, an enemy. And that's what happening at the legislature. Most of the guys in the offices of these lawmakers have no term of reference. They have no clue in terms of what they should be doing actually. You go to the place is overcrowded. No one appears to be in charge. You may have someone as chief of office staff, but you see duplication in functions. Especially if let's use the speaker as an example. If the speaker brings in a relative of his or someone from Grand Crew, and he's closer to that person than the chief of office staff, obviously that person is going to overshadow the chief of office staff. How do you hire someone as director of communication when you do not even have a functioning website? How do people get to know what you're doing as a lawmaker? What is your office doing? This is not a time that people will have to drive to your office and sit with you to know what you are doing. The world has become a global village. I should be able to sit in the United States and know more about the office of the speaker, his activities, by just logging on his website. The entire legislature has no functional website. The Ministry of Information, effective website. Even the LBS we're talking about has a website, but that is barely updated. You go to the executive mansion itself. They have a website. Yes, it is true that they try to update it, but it's not on a consistent basis. You go to the Ministry of Finance, you want to do a research, inadequate information. Ministry of Lands and Mines, inadequate information.
Or some of
the National Port Authority, the police.
Some of the information may be mundane. They be there.
Yes, completely outdated. Nobody is updating.
Mm-hmm.
So why do you hire all these communication people? You have an IT department. People are being paid salaries, but you see no productivity. Why do you keep all these people? Nobody is holding anybody accountable. That's the greatest problem we have in the country.
But isn't it a part of the, and I don't want us to dwell on it too long, but isn't it a part of the civil service to be able to look at, bring to us, Mr. Speaker, these number of people and what are they doing, so we can weed out duplication of functions, so we can downsize your office so that the functionaries can be impactful and meaningful to your office, rather than you just have the sole authority to just put anybody on your payroll or put anybody in your office and say the man is a part of my office staff. Shouldn't the civil service, because at the end of the day, who pays that money? It is the executive
branch. Taxpayers.
Yeah, through taxation and whatever, but it is the executive branch that raises that money.
Yeah.
So why should we pay all that money that nothing is happening on the other end when the mayor is not doing anything to impact, your budget is so, astronomical to the point that,
I mean,
it's just
quickly. Quickly, Alphonso, I just wanted to piggyback on what Volcano was saying. As a lawmaker, before you go to section, you need to be, prepared by your research team. A good number of our lawmakers go to session with no clue in terms of the agenda item. Take, for example, they may invite the Minister of Finance. They may appear before them. All you hear is someone shouting over another person because the person had basically no question to ask the Minister of Finance. You see why most of the senior officials of government, barely go to the legislature, because people show up, people don't ask an intelligent question.
Not only that, they're so disorganized.
That's what I'm saying. So because they are not prepared for these sessions. If you're going to meet with the Minister of Finance, you should do your homework. But when the mayor appears before you, or you're telling the mayor, oh, where is our gas? Why haven't you disbursed money for our vehicles?
Or we'll hold you
Don't you
in,
have a structure to deal with the Minister of Finance?
right? We'll hold you in
Yeah,
contempt.
let me stop there. Yeah.
The big thing, instead
Go
of
ahead, Alfonso.
So no, the point I was going to make is relative to what Volcano said about the civil service getting involved. Unfortunately, the civil service cannot, because some of those positions fall under the
the
legislative
legislature.
branch.
Legislature,
Yeah,
yeah.
and civil service has no authority over them. So the legislator, well, that process could be managed by the Speaker of the House, and the President pro tempore in the Senate. Unfortunately, they themselves are involved in this thing, so they can't manage it. But yeah, that's where we are. I just want to make that a little point.
Thank you. Thank you. So let's go to the next thing quick. I talked about the Rwanda airport. And again, the issues room is not all about Liberia, but we can, make some comparison in what we think happened in other countries that went through similar circumstances as we've gone through, and yet we continue to snail with respect to our forward progress or developmental agenda, and we get nowhere. So let me get to that screen quick and share it. So this is the work now. This is what is considered as a new airport. When you take something completely and do it, or if you're going to extend the Rabas International Airport, then you can say an extension of the Rabat International Airport. You don't put one little building there, then you say a new airport. So this is what it will look like when this airport is completed. It is expected to be completed 2026 and is a $2 billion project. This will be one of the biggest hubs in on the continent of Africa, but precisely in East Africa. So I wanted us to just go back. I know both of you have not been to Liberia since our so-called terminal was built, the little Chinese terminal that they built, which we could have done way, way better. But this is when the people resolve to change their destiny. I keep saying, when people will really want good for themselves, compared to us, the other day we're trying to build road here. You see the road there, you asked the question, but how the road here looking so uneven? The sidewalk already look dingy. The rainy season ain't even going nowhere yet. And people want us to settle for these things and appreciate it. Appreciate it. I think Alfonso is frozen. Let me see if you. Oh, I
No,
tell you
I'm
what.
not.
Okay, sorry. And and
Yeah.
and so look at that. Compare that to Liberia, who has similar circumstance. Remember, Rwanda is a landlocked country. The only thing that the only major water around Rwanda is Lake Kivu, but they don't have Atlantic Ocean, 350 territorial, 350 miles of territorial waters. They don't have the major rivers we have. They have rolling hills, but I don't know of them to have mountains. But the people, they invest in agriculture. They're not investing in IT. They're not investing in tourism. They're changing the economy in a direction, and that is why they're able to build an airport of this magnitude to attract more investment. But we settled for Roberts International Airport. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf took 12 years hanging around, stealing, barely did anything. Came here, played with Noka, she and her son. Today, Noka is still one institution that has no relevance, but the managing director can earn $9,000 per month when it's bringing nothing. Moses, what are we rescuing? What are we changing? When all of these things, they kind of boil my blood, as if to say we're so stupid we don't know what we want. Compare that terminal that Ellen Johnson Sirleaf built in 12 years with the billions of dollars of help the government got to what Rwanda is doing.
Well, we have said this repeatedly.
Oh, by the way, the jet bridge is no longer functional. So you got to
Oh,
get
wow.
down, get on the bus, and go. Some of the barrels
Okay.
barely flushing in so short a time. If you look at the exterior of the terminal, it's already
Hmm.
broken, no maintenance. It was just a quick Chinese structure to put over there and call it a new airport. People were saying new airport. I'm like, how can you call this thing a new airport? It's one structure on the airport. The runway is still rough and rough when I say rough. So, my brother, make your case.
Yeah, no, I was just saying that we have said this repeatedly. Uh, One of the foremost challenges we have in our country is greed. Most of our people are not nationalists. They are all concerned about themselves. They are all concerned about themselves. They are all concerned about themselves. It's about the personal well-being, not about the good of the country. So people want, to have everything for themselves. You got somebody who wants to ride a $50,000 vehicle. After every 3 years, then they have to give him another vehicle again. But yet, you go to JFK, no medication. The schools are all in shambles. So that's our greatest problem. Liberia has the resources. Liberia has the potential of doing these things, but most of our political leaders, it's all about themselves. We saw that 6 years ago when Mr. Weir and his gang of criminals came. What did they do? They started looting the public coffers. Bwaka and his administration have come. They said this would not be business as usual. They brought. They said they are already bringing in, I moving equipment on a shady condition. So then, what make you different from Mr. Weir? Ellen Johnson Sally and her people did the same thing. When her son literally, when Noka went bankrupt, what did she say? She takes full responsibility. But Madam, Madam Salif, this is not your personal property. Noka belongs to the people of Liberia. So if Noka went bankrupt because your son was head of Noka, we don't want you saying that you take full responsibility. Your son should be held to the same standard like any other person. That's our problem, Volcano. It's all about ourselves. That's it.
Alfonso?
Yeah. So two things. One, the issue of the airport, Ramos International Airport. I think part of the reason why I wouldn't go too much into investing in Ramos International Airport in Vietnam at this time is because really, if you look at the impact of the airport on the country's development at this point in time, it is probably not where I think the meager resources should be invested. There are many other areas that I think will boost our economy and help our people if we put resources in there. If I were, a policy or decision maker regarding airport, I will even focus on really revamping the Spring Airport in Monrovia so that everybody is not just coming from, everybody's not landing at RIA and then having to drive. Spring is right there. Some of the airplanes can even land at Spring. That will help the economy. People will just land right into Monrovia and don't have to, drive in the dark or everything to go. Many airports in this country are not miles and miles away from the capital or from the main place where they go, and that's why we have Springs. Springs. I know President Weah built some kind of playground and took away some of the runway space, but
No,
we can
we
look
can break
into
that thing
that.
down. It's not even
Yeah,
significant.
yeah, we can expand Springs. Springs is right in the city. It will carry more people and stuff. Airplanes that are coming from Freetown, for instance, don't have to go to Harare. They can just come to Monrovia. It makes it easier. It will help the traffic congestion issue on the Royal VI way. It will help the traffic congestion with people coming all the way to Monrovia. It will boost businesses in the capital because now people can go to those hotels and other places in Monrovia and all of those things. So
And
yeah, I
that
think
let me just add this quick since you mentioned
mm,
speak. Usually, I just do a lot of research, and one of the
Yeah.
things I've been looking at was airports and the runway. And
Yeah.
places like Nepal. Nepal has one of the most horrible runways in the world because of the proximity to the airport and the distance for the plane to land in the mountains all around. Then you have a lot of the small Caribbean countries, and these people are doing well. They're
Yep.
receiving big jets. So Spring Spain, I flew out of Spring Spain once upon a time to come to America. My first trip to
Mhm.
the States, I
Mhm.
routed through Spring Spain, you know. So Spring Spain was a very important airport for people to just allow it to not become a dump site. I'm
Yep.
telling you, all the people around the curve there in the old road behind Calondo, that where to go and throw the dirt over the fence. I was in that corner the
Wow.
last time. I got pictures on my phone. That place is covered in bush and is now becoming a dirt pit. You understand me? Why are we this way? Who are
That
we?
is sad.
What type
That
of
is
people
sad.
are we?
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
have an
Very
airport
sad.
right there that we can
Yeah.
utilize.
And we don't need a lot of investment into Spriggs. Spriggs has a good runway. It has the terminal right there. Just increase the runway a little bit. If the planes that come from here and go to Freetown and then take people from Freetown to Monrovia, they can just use a smaller aircraft from Freetown into Spriggs and lands right into the capital city of Monrovia. That's what people do when you go traveling to major places, Africa, and think whatever. It takes the small flight. What usually takes you from here to JFK or to other places or to Philadelphia Airport, and then the bigger plane takes you up from there and takes you, to your destination. If it's an international flight, such a thing could be done. Why they abandoned Spokane Airport is beyond me, and I hope this administration can begin to think about that because that will be really, really helpful to the economy of the country. You can have major aircraft going, the large aircraft going to RIA, and you have smaller aircraft coming to Spriggs. And then gradually, you start developing almost all the counties in Liberia uh, have airports. You probably can start looking into developing those as well so that small planes can go into those places. Again, it helps commerce, it helps transportation, and it helps trade. And I hope the Ministry of Commerce, the Ministry of Transportation can begin to look into those things and see how they can invest in those things. It's difficult for a business person to move their goods or to travel, let's say, from Monrovia to Grand Jita to Lower Nimba to Grand Cru and all of those things. But if we provided that means of transportation, that's just one way they can move their goods. That's one way they themselves can travel.
Thank
One
you.
of the reasons why people are not going into the rural parts of the country is because A, the means of travel is extremely challenging. B, they don't have services like electricity and other things. And these are things that I think we can invest in.
Let's go quickly to the earth moving equipment and some vehicles that for the police that came in town. uh, Toyota, I think that's a Camry here or a little Corolla. I don't know how long the one will last on the road or the Jakarta road they will be riding on. But yeah, these are the things right now at the airport, I mean, seaport, Freeport of Monrovia. So let's just give a little props to what the rescue train is delivering. So that tells you that they're moving small. But I don't know if this is a goodwill gesture or if the Liberian government consciously made purchases of these vehicles. Um, but from smaller quarters, it said that the government, and one of the things I'm trying to understand here, when you listen to social media and you read and you research, this government is lying too much. This government needs to come clean. When you're going to put money in these things, follow the right procedure, and take credit for it. But don't come and act like the government is so dying that it can't afford anything. And what you see here, they're donated. The police director, Gregory, said these vehicles or some vehicles were donated. In some other quarters, that's not true. Don't make it seem as though the government is so incapacitated to do what it should do for the Liberian people. The earth moving equipment we're talking about, as you can see, it was some of the caterpillar, the trucks, and now the police cars. If we don't tell the people that, listen, we have to buy some of these things because they're very necessary for us to jumpstart the economy and move the country forward. We need the police, and so we need police cars, especially in places where there are crimes. Their presence will make an impact. After hours, police need to patrol. The earth moving equipment will come for roads, will come for agriculture, and we're spending this kind of money because we think that in the long haul it will help push our economy forward. What's your take on this? This government should not come here and try to pretend that even though we know that we are looted the country, but he didn't loot the country that the wallet was empty. And if people are going to do some things because you want to do investment with them, then say, listen, this group came with investment and we think that the investment is necessary, but upfront, this is what they're going to provide. In the meantime, we're still discussing the modalities, or we go to the public procurement procedure, and the procedure was met. However, as part of the social corporate responsibility to security, the police will benefit XYZ at the expense of this new investor. But here's what the government have agreed to with this new investor for the Liberian people. Because people sometimes buy their way in, right? But it's not bad if they take it in the direction of social corporate responsibility to a special institution, for instance, the police. Who would frown on an investor who already signed a contract with the Liberian government to mine, but then who sees the need to buy 10 trucks as social corporate responsibility because people's houses are being, getting burned because of the lack of what you call services. It's just my thought. Maybe I'm wrong. And I'm looking at Alphonso, it looked like he want to probably go contrary. I'm saying after the deals are signed. That's what I said. Okay. After the deals are signed and the government comes and says to the public, hey, we signed a deal with John Brown Company. They're going to be mining here, and this is the investment that the Liberian government tend to. Guess what? The local community will benefit. However, as part of their concern for what is trending in the country, they've donated 10 fire trucks to the fire service department as the social corporate responsibility. I would never frown on that because then it's very, very in the open. It's my thought.
So I wasn't going to deviate from what you're saying, Volcano. Um, I mean, I have another thought which I will express, but I think the crux of the point you're making is that there should be transparency, there should be accountability, and we must follow the public procurement law and the financial management law that were passed in the country. To that extent, I totally 100% agree with you. And this government has not been transparent as it relates to the machines. And I said it from the beginning. Part of the reason I believe is because, unfortunately, the government's public relations machinery, which is, from the White House, you talk, I mean, did I say White House? From the executive mansion, you're talking about the press secretary and her team, Ministry of Information, etc. I think they're not doing a very good job at selling this government's programs and accomplishments, but also as just communicating with the Liberian people, helping the government to communicate what they're doing and what they're thinking to the Liberian people. That's very critical. The government's role is to serve the people. The people must know what their leaders, what their governors are doing. If the people do not know what you're doing, a few things happen. One, they become suspicious, but more importantly, as you said, when you go on social media, you hear different things. It's because of the failure I know it's a harsh word to say failure, but because of the failure of the government's communications arm, you now have a vacuum that's being filled in many cases with lies, with people just making up things and putting them on social media and all of that, which really is the medium through which a lot of the citizens consume information. I haven't seen the government present in the social media and advocating or selling the agenda and their programs. That is a failure on the part of the press secretary's office and the Ministry of Information, and also maybe LBS. I might add. Having said all of that, I think we should put pressure on the government. We should put pressure on the national legislature uh, to make sure to force the government to explain how they acquire those yellow machines, what it means. Did they make any commitments in terms of our national resources? Is there a company that's instead of the saying tax break, instead of paying your taxes, you can bring these yellow machines? How exactly do they acquire these yellow machines and these vehicles? It's extremely critical to communicate that to the Liberian people. I think though that having the foresight to say we need police vehicles, or we need vehicles not just for police but for immigration and other things to help LDEA, for instance, to address these challenges is commendable. It's extremely commendable. I mean, you've been to Liberia recently. I follow and read. A lot of time people call police, or police, and police can't even go there because of the lack of vehicles, because of the lack of these things. And that, when safety and security are critical in the development of any country, even its economic development as well. Nobody who knows that police will not respond to their call when there's a situation happening is going to take their money to say I'm investing it into that country. So all of these are extremely important, but I also agree that in acquiring these things, they need to follow the rule of law and they need to be transparent in what they're doing. So that's
Moses,
what I would say to that.
Well, I would say that just coming from the standpoint of good governance, uh, taking gifts, from businesses, from companies, that puts the government or the people in authority in a real, tight position. To a greater extent, it undermines their ability to make independent decisions. I would say the way forward, when companies come in, you make sure that whatever taxes that are due the people of Liberia, those taxes are paid. You don't want somebody coming to provide vehicles for the police department, and then tomorrow, when they have to pay 10,000 or $10 million to the Liberian government, and now they begin to tell you, say, oh, well, we can pay 1,000, we can pay $1 million now, and we want you to wait. It shouldn't be that way. The law should always be the law. When you do that, Volcano, you and I in the West, government don't go asking, companies to underwrite the cost of their responsibilities because these companies pay taxes. You use your taxes to underwrite the cost of the operation of your government. That's how it goes. Don't be taking
Moses,
gifts.
no, Moses. Social
Yes.
responsibility is not always considered a gift. It is the need of communities. That is why these big investment and these big companies. Why you think the private sector drives the economy. The private sector should drive the economy. The private sector should take responsibility. It doesn't mean that it compromises It's just on when you look at Africa's setting, they come so conspicuous. They come so inept and so lazy to hold these institutions accountable. It's still you go to your church is not depending on tithes or only the tithes. Your church, I'm sure they get gifts, you know Most of the stadiums in this country are built by banks that do it in their name, in their honor. So yes, I don't have a problem. I, what I have a problem with, if government doesn't make it clear and say this is for this purpose and it's only for this purpose, that's where I will have the problem.
And if
Yeah,
I may
but
add,
Let him
if I
finish,
may,
Alfonso.
what I was saying, okay, quickly, Alfonso, what I was saying is that, look, I have a problem with any company underwriting the cost of vehicles for the police. When that happens, in the future, if anything wrong, or if anything goes wrong at a company, let's assume that they begin to mistreat their employees.
It's what you're assuming. It doesn't mean that the
I mean,
it,
I'm just being hypothetical here.
but then in the
And Volcano, what I'm saying here is that that's why laws are made. That's why most institutions have a limit in terms of what you can take as a gift. The president of the Republic of Liberia, the max he can take from anybody as a gift is $250. So when you have a company buying 20 cars or 15 cars for the police, and that company begin to mistreat Liberians tomorrow, how is the government going to hold that company accountable? Because now they feel um, they have some obligation now that hey, we have a relationship. We need to sustain the relationship. It was this company that just gave us 15 vehicles for the police.
all right, but
So you see the difficult situation right there?
let's not sleep on this topic
That's
because
the conflict.
the conversation yet. But if that's your view, it's understandable. Uh,
It
one
is.
one of the
I
things
mean,
one of the things I would like to add quickly, so we can wrap up on this, is that instead of the government allowing these people to take the vehicle from the legislature to begin with, buying expensive cars every 3 years. Once they're going to go in that route, then the cars must be given to these other institutions to use. That
mhm,
should be the concern, and that should be the message, and the message must come from the executive that we're going to buy you new cars every 3 years, as per what you say, but we want the other car so we can send it to the police. We want the other car for the LDA. We want the other car for NSA, for NBI, stuff like that. I think
mhm.
it's just something that I think that needed to be discussed.
yeah. So let me. Oh, sorry.
You're gonna do
When you're
1 minute.
done, I
You're
just
gonna
wanted to.
because I want to move on. 1 minute.
Yeah, 5 seconds.
Let me,
5 seconds.
yeah.
First of all, I don't think we have established that it's a company that bought the vehicles and the yellow machines for the government. I don't think we've established that. So let's be
No,
careful.
that is not the case I'm making.
Yeah.
I was just being hypothetical,
Okay.
Alfonso. I was
Okay, but
just assuming that if
okay,
that
let me.
taking gifts. I was speaking in general, taking gifts. I didn't say those vehicles were bought by any private company. Yeah,
Yeah, I was
go ahead.
making my point. So
Okay.
we don't know that, and we have to be careful not to assume or to claim that because we want. I'm sure we
Oh,
pride ourselves.
we didn't
Yeah,
make that. I
We
said
did
we pride.
not.
according to social
And I,
media.
guys,
Yeah,
let me.
hold on. Let me.
Yes, as I gave you a chance.
Yeah, no, but let me just
I give
no,
you the,
no,
yeah,
because
Yeah, we
yeah.
need to clarify that.
I don't want anyone coming here and thinking that
Well,
we said the government.
and
Alfonso, just 1 second. You finish your thought. Don't worry. The point here, I said social media is coming with all kinds of claim
yeah.
and disclaim,
Mm,
where
mm,
even the police director said that some vehicles were donated, and
mm.
accordingly, the government is buying those vehicles. The point I was making, the government should not pretend that all is so difficult that it can't afford, and they want to make itself seem so, vulnerable,
Oh,
that
yeah.
they're poor, that we are left nothing, and they can't afford anything, so things are being given to them. That's the point I was making.
And I get that point, and I also get Moses's point that he's being hypothetical. I was also communicating by saying that we should not, and the listeners, I don't think we are claiming here that we know with certainty that a company provided these things, and therefore the government will be compromised if a company does that. Companies, almost companies throughout the world do that. When companies see, for instance, that there's a water problem in the place that they're operating, they can help to provide water, electricity, or whatever in that area. I don't think they should compromise their adherence to the law or whatever the case may be. And if that is to happen, then we as journalists and as citizens should make sure we hold them accountable so that doesn't happen, because there are laws that every company must follow. Governments have usually, in many cases, said, look, when you dig this iron ore in this place, your taxes and stuff are $500,000. Give us $300,000 and use our $200,000 that's remaining to bring this thing in to do this, do that. That can also happen. I don't think that compromises anything. I agree. And as I said before, what has not happened here is that the government has not been transparent. The government has not explained to us how they got these things. And I want to focus on that in terms of holding them accountable. I think that's where I'm hoping we all focus our energies, so that we don't make statements that are misconstrued as we are alleging that somehow a company gave them the equipment when in fact we don't know. I agree. You guys said that's not what you said, and that so we're on the same page.
So quickly, before and I will leave this for later on, but let's come to the crux of what we wanted to talk about, and all of this kind of added some kind of meat to the conversation. But just before that, I'd like to remind you, our viewers, that you're here with us in the issues room. Tonight is our 244th broadcast. We're coming your way on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, and on our issues room page. Moses Sandy, Volcano, Shelton, and Alphonso Yeno. We're here discussing Liberia. As part of the conversation tonight, we were looking at justice, accountability, and the rule of law. However, under that, we wanted to bullet the conversation around corruption, persecution of corrupt officials of past governments or administration, and even including this one, if we found it, and asset recovery. I'd like to start from the bottom. Everyone is saying that the government has had some missteps from the inception, and we are not sure, based on those missteps, if it's made the government feel inadequate, because we haven't seen some quick turnaround. The institution that was established for asset recovery, after people started stretching them here and there and discrediting the effort, discrediting the way it started, there's no, we haven't seen a revamp and a lot going on. We're not hearing about it as we should. Two of his members left, and it seemed as though we're heading back to business as usual. Alfonso, asset recovery. Moses, asset recovery. Critical component that Jefferson Koji wouldn't be talking crap today, that George Weah wouldn't be talking about setback for comeback, that some of the people who really stole, like an asset door who is on Spoon Network, who's given a big platform and doesn't know how to utilize it, wouldn't be talking the things he's talking about. Had asset recovery really take its root, start dragging people down the gutter of justice. Come in, gentlemen. I don't know who's going to take it.
Look, let me come in. It is often said that you lead by example. So if the Barker administration is struggling with integrity problem, then it makes it difficult to really get to the core of fighting corruption in Liberia. Let me give you a graphic example of what I'm talking about. When the administration came to power, President Barker declared to the world that his administration was going to institute an investigation into the $650,000 that the Weir administration gave for the preparation of for the inaugural program. I'll put it that way. Because that money was mishandled, you saw how terrible the inaugural program was. Some people died because the place was so overcrowded, no water, and the president promised the people of Liberia that there would have been a probe into how that money was used. As we speak, there's been no report. No report. But what did Mr. Barker do? A few months ago, he wrote a letter congratulating Nyata family, who chaired the inaugural committee, describing her as one of Liberia's funniest citizens. How do you write such a letter when you have not been able to tell the people whether a probe was conducted and what was the outcome of that probe?
Interrupt you. That's what I heard. It said that everything went well.
Yeah, no report.
They said the report came out and everything went well.
No report.
Okay, let's go look for
Volcano?
it. Let's go look for it.
There has been no report. Even the allegation involving the chair of the Unity Party, who was accused of dishing money intended for the inaugural program. The UP also promised to institute a probe. We have not seen a report. So if you cannot start with yourself, then what qualifies you to go to Georgia? What qualifies you to go after Jefferson Kobe? What qualifies you to ask Natana Mageba, where got this money from? That you
Moses,
yes.
Moses, your internet is giving problem. You're freezing again.
My internet, but what I'm saying, right? So the governments have been coming clean. And let me wrap it by saying this. Our society, the law is understood. And when you have blind loyalists in the government, it can just make you look terrible. I watched Spoon Network recently. Mr. Mo Ali, the managing director at the Water and Sewer, he appeared to provide clarification regarding the yellow machines, the eye moving equipment. And this guy declared, not to the word, that yes, well, it is true. Some
Moses, I told you, but you don't listen. I say your network is bad. Now you're kicking off. Alphonso.
Yeah. I think it's good. It's good to criticize government. Government is the biggest entity in any country. They have the power to do wrong. They manage our resources, so it's important to criticize them. But I think we should be careful. I hope Moses comes back. I don't think we should equate $600,000.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Moses, you're freezing, and you're breaking so bad. Moses.
I don't even know.
Yeah. Moses, can you listen quick? Hold on. Someone's watching even asking, what are you in Liberia? You're freezing. You're in poor. I'm telling you.
I don't know what's going on. My internet is.
Okay, try. Let's see.
All right.
Go ahead.
Okay. Do you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead and make your point.
Yeah, so the point I was trying to make here is that if you're going to hold people accountable, you have to start with your staff.
Nice.
I heard Alphonso say the $600,000 is more like negligible, but you have to start with the least. That's where integrity comes in. hold your people accountable so that when you start prosecuting George Weah and the others, people will not accuse you of witch hunt. I heard Mo Ali say that, hey, we have some of the ice moving equipment in the country. But you know why? Before they leave the free port of Monrovia, every action will be taken to ensure that we do the right thing. I mean, Mr. Ali, Liberians are not idiots. The question people are asking you, how did this equip? I mean, how did the equipment or how did these machines get into the country? Under what condition? What was the arrangement?
Please don't say shady like you can say about we are building.
Yeah,
You know,
you
shady.
brought them under you brought them under a condition that many people are struggling to really understand. How was the arrangement made? The equipment. Did anyone donate the equipment to Liberia? Are they what? Donations? If they are not donations, tell us how much will this cost the people of Liberia? And how long will it take the people of Liberia to
Moses,
pay for this equipment?
Moses
Yeah.
already out there. The people say $50+ million for the ones that get brought. They tell
But
it.
the legislature says that it has received no communication.
All right, but
No communication from the executive mansion.
let your history.
So the point I was going to make here, if I can claim my time, is that in as much as we want to criticize this government, and we should, we must be careful not to equate the complete and wholesale plundering of the country that we administration did with inauguration money. We cannot and should not argue here that because perhaps Luther Tappe hasn't made a report on the $35,000 Unity Party money that he gave him. Therefore, we shouldn't hold people accountable who stole millions of dollars, if not billions, of the coffers of Liberia.
But I don't think that's what that. And hold on.
No.
claim your point.
I think that point was made. I think that point was made, and
But it's
if
not
I'm
fair.
done,
It's not fair. It's not fair.
and when I'm done,
It's
you
not
can
fair,
come
Moses.
back. No, okay, go ahead. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
it's not fair. We're not saying
Okay.
don't. We're saying that if you starting so wrong, then it makes it difficult for you to even
For
effectuate.
you to proceed.
Oh,
No,
so continue.
well,
Continue.
gentlemen, let me make my point. I don't think we came here to sing a chorus and all agree on each
I
point that
will,
we
I
make.
want to agree with you, but I
Okay.
don't want you to
So you can disagree, but let me make my
No, the
point,
other
then you
way-
come and disagree with me. But what you're doing, you're stopping me from making my point because you disagree, which I think is not fair. The implication here that Moses made is that if you can't even audit $600,000, you cannot go after Jefferson Koji then because it will be witch hunt. That's exactly
Of course.
his word, and
That's
that's what I'm
optic.
that's what I'm disagreeing with.
Okay.
No, it will not be witch hunt, and I think we should not equate $600,000 budget, which the committee, the inaugural committee, said it was not even in charge of that money, that the outgoing administration was in charge of it. Me and our family had a press conference and made that. But let's even compare $600,000 with the amount of money that Mr. Weah took to build his estates over a 6-month period. Are we saying if they don't account for 600,000, then we shouldn't go after those people, or else will be witch hunt? I think when we do that, we're playing into the narrative that the people who looted that country are trying to create, and we have to be careful not to do that. Should the $600,000 be audited and a report should be given? Absolutely. But it shouldn't be either or. It shouldn't be, oh, you're corrupt too, so you can't even go after those people, or else we'll join them and say you are witch hunting. There are audit reports. There should be audit reports. Audits should go on, and people should be held accountable across the board in the Barker administration, in the transitional period, in the Weah administration, and government preceding administrations before them. And I think what we should be doing, in my view, what I've decided to do is to make sure that we put fire on all of them and not make statements that will undermine that effort by saying you must first account for 600 before you go for one after $100 million. I don't think that's the right approach here.
Thank you. So that brings us to the point now. Hold on, Moses.
Mhm.
He just laid it out. So that brings us to the point now. Corrupt officials
There was a
from
go
past
ahead.
administration. Where do we start? where do we start with, going after them, to persecute them? One of the ways to start was the asset recovery. Start taking some of the things that you took that don't belong to you, that you shouldn't have even taken in the first place. But now we even come after you for the ones you stole, that we got to do investigation and all of that. So how do we get there, Alfonso? Since you last and you brought a topic, let you come in. Then Moses will follow. So
I
prosecute
agree. Yeah,
from
I
your
agree
view.
with Thomas. I agree with Thomas Awaji. The asset recovery team so far has really been a disappointment and a mockery. And I think the Barker administration needs to rethink the strategy around asset recovery. I haven't, besides seizing vehicles in the streets and creating an unnecessary situation, I think the asset recovery team has been bogged down and has done nothing. There are bigger things that the asset recovery team should be doing that it hasn't done. I think the whole approach of even putting people in the street to stop vehicles and say, give me a document, you don't give me a document, and maybe you stole the vehicle. I think that was flawed, fundamentally flawed in the first place. And it has created a situation that has now bogged them down into the court system. If you want to seize government vehicles, for instance, there's a way to identify government vehicles. There has to be some form of documentation on the vehicles. If vehicles were assigned to the Ministry of State and they were taken away, the vehicles were assigned in a pool. There must be a list of government vehicles that were assigned to the Ministry of State, a list of who they were assigned to, what year they were made, and all of that. And then you use the documents and you hold those people accountable and you go after them. You don't put checkpoint in the street, disrupt traffic, the free flow of commerce and industry, to go and turn it down. The people took them to court and they're in Supreme Court fighting here and there. I think the blunder, that's a better way to do it. You follow the records, you go to the you do investigations. I follow this guy who did the investigation on child stealing asset, and that's how these things are done. I also believe that they started very little and they've done nothing major. They should go that billions of dollars of Liberian people money was stolen and placed in businesses and placed in bank accounts overseas. I'm afraid this asset recovery team, from the way I started and what it's done so far, doesn't have the capacity to implement the real critical asset recovery program that Liberia needs. And I'm afraid people who stole our resources are going to go scot free again. And that all that does is it just perpetuates the stealing and highway robbery of the country and our resources.
Moses.
Yeah, look, I just want to reiterate that I maintain my stance that when you lead by example. You don't cherry pick. If you want people to respect you, you start with yourself. If you came in and you entrusted people with $650,000 and you made a public pronouncement that you will probe and report to the public, and Alfonso is telling us we should look the other way and start going after the others, I'm sorry. That just draws your integrity into question. That is something that is going to impact, this administration in a negative way. If you had a party chairman that was literally throwing money all over the place and you cannot account for it, and you want us to say, okay, well, let's bring George Weah in, what would be the political interpretation? Witch hunt. I agree. Uh, 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 Mr. We want Mr. Weah and all the gang. Most of the time you hear me. I refer to the Weah administration as gang of criminals. And I maintain that. I want these people to be held accountable for the wrongs that they did to the people of Liberia. But if we're going to hold them accountable, let us begin with ourselves first. For the fact that Mr. Boaka pronounced that he will probe, he should have probed, he should have reported to Liberians What happened to that money? I'm not saying that Miata family stole, but let Liberians know what happened to that money. So with that said, now let's come to this whole issue of asset recovery here. It's a laudable initiative, but it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of commitment. And with all these shady things that we see around, you're bringing in yellow, or yellow machines, you're bringing eye moving equipment. You got 300 buses that are supposed to come to the country. You have your political advisor, literally usurping the function of the minister of transport, the managing director, and you just see all these reports about dishonesty in the Senate, dishonesty in other branches of government. Then the question that people will begin to ask, where are we and where are we headed? That's my whole take on it, gentlemen.
And I mean, listen, to be honest here, sometimes it's like all the fights about coming to bring about change. You can tell that and take call me an idiot, but I don't think rescue train was ready from day one. Look how long it took to formulate the government.
Yes.
Look how critical institutions within the government, people were being appointed and being pulled back. Look at what was happening. Come on, you knew overwhelmingly that the Liberian people were tired after quick 6 years, the way things had gone, and was looking for something. And from what I heard, long before the second round, between that period, it was glaring that President Bouaka was going to be president. Insiders told him, said, let's start formulating this government so we can start from day one. But he was dragging his feet. He was dragging his feet. And so here we are. Government is still in its formative stage. You have people who just carrying on. Eugene Fagon telling people, say, wear African clothes, otherwise you're not reading news. He goes to the National Port Authority, he put his slapping security here. all kinds of stuff happening.
Yeah.
So when you see this kind of thing happening, I know Alphonso face changing, but you see this kind of thing happening.
Why would my face be changing? I know Eugene Fagon. Eugene Fagon, man.
And you say this will not be business as usual, right, Volcano?
So now people like Jefferson Koji can come back and start talking nonsense. And that's,
of course,
I'm leading to it now. This is production. We're doing production here tonight. Having said some of these things, Jefferson Koji held a press conference. And, he's saying a lot of things. Why would he have the spine to say a lot of things if indeed the government was serious and started dragging them, as I said, in the gutter of justice? Well, let's listen to the man. He's talking about what's his name, Geraldine Piap, but then he went on to talk about the president and the president's committing massacre in the country and da 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 da. And from what he was saying, we're close on how Liberia is extremely divided, and this is not good for this country.
No, auditor, not our auditor. When you see happening, a massacre is taking place. Mr. Bouaka is engaged into one-ton massacre. Auditor, now citizens are being massacred. And our government appointees, we can say to you, the country under a Bouaka, no one is becoming safe anymore. If you wake up the next morning, you go to bed, you must be very grateful to God. Bouaka has instituted in his plantation an onslaught of massacre. Citizens cannot trust whether they will survive the next day. While government appointees and civil servants have been considered being reduced into slavery, and the slave masters who are owners of this plantation are whining and dining. That's the issue. You're telling us You say we should not be talking, and you asking for to say him to be no. People that what you call PR are not surprised about him. I know his upbringing. If you were to ask as well, she would tell you a story about him. Today there's an issue between both of them. She was very concerned. Pia is one of those kids that were, normally when you're having children, you have to decide. There was an Pia was an unintended child that was given birth to. So you don't expect a lot from them. Sometimes when you come, you got a plan for you. But he one of those species that were unintended for. So there was a decision whether to abort him. But something happened strangely. They were asked, I know when you read about there was this when we were in Army, there was this literature about the evil forest. Yeah, Odiwadi, about the cause of not of brain. And there was a child there, eh? And they say that child something, it said the child should not be given birth to. No, I would never do that. No, he doesn't deserve that attention. I can't do that. And I can't go personally. No, I'm too busy. I'm running a party and to ensure that the people of Liberia, citizens remain the only bastion of hope for the Liberian people. We will not leave that responsibility and give an unintended child an attention. No, we're not doing that. In fact, you journalists should be blamed. I was spoken here, we're all talking about this guy. No, but since I'm a very respectful person, I want to respect people like you. You can't ask me a question. I don't want to be. My parents decided to give birth to me, so I can't be an unintended child. You see, the decision were made. That's why you see me here. People who are unintended child, they can't respect for no one. They speak loosely. You do not distinguish people of them speaking. There are some opinions about it. It becomes synonymous. So you do not know which side is speaking. So that's the output with Mr. PR. You see? So that's it. So he was very interesting. He went to another side. He talked about sanction. He said people being sanctioned left and right. You should be ashamed of yourself. And that's why we're here. If you say you sanction, but we stay here with our people. For you, you will not be sanctioned. You know what will happen? The people will incarcerate you. I'm going to show you. The Liberian people will move from office to office. And, creatures like you will be incarcerated and apprehended by the Liberian people. Now, nobody will not wait for, Western power where do not have understanding about what's happening here and you celebrate it. But then we know we are victims of malicious lies. And that's why after the time you preside here, we challenge you to bring one evidence to match up what you have said. You don't have it. You don't have it. We thought you as a person should be telling us that in 6 months time, you say everything collapsed. In 6 months time, this is what you have accomplished. You yet to accomplish anything in
So let's stop there. Let's not dwell on the PR thing. I'm not going there. But let's go back to his blame for President Bwaga is committing massacre. And in fact, if they had any evidence, they would have done something with them, meaning the rest who are unsanctioned. So when PR's day come, it will be the Liberian people themselves who will go after them to incarcerate them. What you guys make out of this guy? He said he chose to stay in Liberia. Oh, you didn't choose to stay in Liberia. You are compelled to stay in Liberia because you got nowhere to go. The sanction on you and the rest of your colleagues, and unfortunately, it saddens me that those other guys were able to funnel the way into the legislature, the highest branch of government, and continue to enjoy, while the very people that left to language in poverty and degradation remain a laughing stock around them. And then this guy can sit here and talk, struggling to pronounce. Of course, we know, but yet accusing the president of massacre, and the Western powers don't have anything on them, no evidence. But then I kind of wonder, gentlemen, you guys were coming, if everything has started like bam, 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 we know we're going to win, and so we got all these institutions ready and set up and go. This guy won't be talking. But then some of the very people the president started to appoint had integrity issues. His justice minister, the very man who controlled the asset recovery, they say he got problem too. Two of his men and resigned because he saw small money, he started going crazy. What type of country is this? So I will let you come in, Moses, and Alphonso will close up on this. But
Yeah.
what do you think about what Coach is saying? He has the feathers now to fly because they didn't build a cage on time for him. So he's fine.
Look, I've consistently said that the guys in the CDC are struggling with loss and grief. Jefferson Koji has no education. He has no marketable skill. He just can't imagine being out of the city government. The extra cash, the access that he had to power, he just can't imagine not having that anymore. I mean, for Jefferson to allege or to accuse the president of mass murder, where did that other thought come from? You listen to this young man, his thoughts are so disorganized, incoherent. He's talking about one thing, he's constantly off topic. He's talking about this, he's talking about that. These are all indications of what? Mental health problem. The man is sick. I don't think we should give him any prominence, because to even call the name Jefferson Koji on this talk show is an elevation of somebody that I consider to be a non-entity. He's a nobody. You have this man who is on human rights record. He cannot leave Monrovia to even go to Guinea because he's on sanction for human rights violation. Is this the kind of idiot that will come and waste our time discussing? Let Jefferson Koji go and grieve. Let him continue to grieve. That's my thought.
Alphonso, let's wrap up on him.
Yeah, I was annoyed listening to it. If I had a means to mute him, I would have muted him, because
Yes.
as
Freedom
most
of the freedom of this press, freedom of speech.
exactly. So freedom of speech, but freedom of speech doesn't force me to listen to something I don't want. So I don't listen to facts, for example. So it's just like that. But yeah, well, that just tells us that that's a snapshot of where we have been for the past 6 years. And that's why sometimes I kind of got a little upset when we make comparison. Where we were for the past 6 years and where we are today, just the fact that those guys are not in power is a significant accomplishment for Liberia. I'll say that today. Imagine 2, 3 more days, months, weeks with those guys. We would not be able to if we see Liberia and see Liberia, we'll not be able to make them up. So you're talking about massacre. What does he even?
I don't know what word he called massacre.
Yeah, what is a massacre?
Massacre.
Massacre where?
I mean, don't forget that I'm from Lofaba.
Yeah, and the kid is talking. Well, forget about the pronunciation. If you're making sense, then we will allow you to slip with the pronunciation. We don't even make it sense. And this is somebody who graduated from University of Liberia, Magna.
Yeah, they say, me top the class. Oh.
I mean, those young people, those kids, those idiots, and I made mockery of that country for 6 years. And I hope that they are held accountable. They are made to pay for all of the things that they did to that country, because that's the only way the country will rise up.
Well, let's wrap up on this quick.
That's all I would say on that piece.
Let's wrap up on this quick. Do
Yeah.
we see this as a serious divisiveness in the country? For a man of this stature, and I use the word stature because he holds a very prominent position within one of the most prominent parties in the country, Secretary General, to spew up something like this, unfounded, not even making sense. However, because of the depth of illiteracy in our society,
Mhm.
it has a propensity, let me borrow the Liberian people popular word, to continue the divisiveness in the country. Especially
Yeah.
people who don't know what's happening around them, they tend to believe.
I agree. I don't think that Liberia is as divided as they try to portray it. Yes, there's no country in the world, there's no organization, there's even no family where everybody agrees on everything at the same time. So I think the Barker administration has a responsibility here. The more it begins to take action against these people, the more it begins to improve the lives of the Liberian people, all of these noise makers, people will not listen to them. People will ignore them and not listen to them. For 6 years, those guys impoverished the country and stole and lived lives of luxury. The Jefferson Koji, who is not even a junior high school graduate, is somebody who was kind of and had a city
Actually,
corporation
government.
in Monrovia, city corporation of the largest city in the country,
And
and come and
one of the premiers in the on the continent.
yeah, and come and sit down and talk nonsense about people don't have food to eat and whatever. Who have food to eat under their administration? Who have food to eat?
Talking about
What
people
did they
working
come with?
people are on plantation.
Yes, plantation. Does he even understand what a plantation means? Asking to define a plantation. So all of this thing is really annoying. But as I was saying, the Barker administration, depending upon what it does, will be responsible for lifting Liberia out of that dungeon or keeping it in the status quo. One, we need to hold these guys accountable and punish them for what they did. Take away what they stole and give it back to the people. Two, we need to provide for the needs of our people. We need to build roads. We need to create jobs. We need to improve the education and healthcare system. When all of those things happen, Liberian people will not listen to those ningampoos, to use a word that somebody used the other day. And I'll end there.
Moses, 1 minute quick. It's 8:30.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me just make this announcement. Tuesday, we're going to host a colleague of ours, journalist Menika Shaw from Minnesota. She runs a nonprofit that is dedicated to working with the young people in Liberia, helping schools with logistics. So she will be coming here, the issue room. I would like to ask all of our many supporters to support journalist Menika Shaw Games in this endeavor, um, which is really meant to help needy students in our country. We want to appeal to you to join us on Tuesday of next week to come and contribute, donate. This is an initiative that you will all be proud of. We want you to support this young woman who is working for our people. Thank you. It was a privilege, gentlemen.
Thank you for the
Mhm,
opportunity. And
mhm.
I think that brings us to the closure of the conversation here tonight. Because yes, indeed, um, if this government does what it should do, people like Jefferson Koji wouldn't have voice to hold press conference, um, and we will feel the impact. And so a lot has to be done. President Boyka should not sit there mute. He should not allow his legacy to be compromised. He must work and act within the confines of his uh, uh, message, the things that he said he will do. We don't want to miss out on the arrest plan, but in the same token, We want to make sure that things are happening for the people of Liberia. Manesumo writes here tonight, Memory Lane, the Millsburg War, the final chapter, part one. And he uses the letter G. He says G in the title stands for Gola. But before going further, let me share a brief history of the township of Millsburg in Montserrat County, Liberia. According to studies, Millsburg was founded in 1828 as a farming hub for the colony. By that time, it was the farthest interior town in the colony. Millsburg is located on the northern bank of the St. Paul River. The town was named to honor Reverend Samuel J. Mills and Ebenezer Burgess, two white Americans who were sent to Africa by the American Colonization Society in 1818 to locate a suitable place for the colonization of blacks. The name is a contraction of the names Mills and Burgess, thus Millsburg. But there is an account according to the Gola Kambandi. Millsburg originally was known as Gewe Fala, was and still is a flourishing moist land the Golas used for productive farming long before the arrival of the settlers. Fala is the original name of the St. Paul River. But then Samuel J. Mills and Ebenezer Burgess have acquired some tools, food, and money to support the settlers in farming. Gewe Fala was chosen for the farming area that triggered the war between the settlers and the Gola indigenous. Eventually, the Golas were defeated and Millsburg grew into a flourishing sugarcane farming town. It became one of the 11 towns in 1847 when Liberia declared independence. The Millsburg Gola War was the final battle between the Golas and the settlers. The Golas gave up fighting and retreated across the new border of Po River. But behold, the settlers did not give up. Somewhere, sometimes in the Joseph Jenkins Roberts cabinet and his legislature, a secret decree was passed, a decree to keep the Golas under check and control. And so the remaining Gola land became a territory of Montserrat County. And so it was called Bombing Territory from 1847 to 1984, when bombing the home of Liberia's first indigenous people became a county. For 137 years, the Golas were deprived of a county status. To be continued. A coming piece. A small historical piece here written by Dr. Manin Sumo, a major contributor to the Issues Room, bringing to us Memory Lane, where he brings history compiled for Liberia. We want to thank you for your continued contribution to the Issues Room in this segment. It's time for What Type of Country Is This? And tonight, Alphonso, you're not going to go. You're going to contribute because you were on fire, and I'm going to hold you in that position. What type of country is this? That a simple thing like asset recovery cannot be done as easy as it should be if the people really mean business, if the government mean business. Because we're going 6 months now. Now one asset is recovered. The Great Just Ride still making money for Finda Bundle. What type of country is this? I was there. The cars are on the road. In fact, one of the taxi driver who I sat in the taxi for just to get my point across, I started talking politics. The man said, "My man, move from here, man." They think nobody can stop their ride. They ride, we ride the car all around here. You know, Brandon, what type of country is this?
What type of country is this? My brother, is when you hire ignorant, corrupt people, that's what happens. What type of country is this that people like, why his name? I can't even remember his name. Said former
OG?
city Koji Jefferson,
Jefferson
Koji,
Koji.
yeah, say that and be opinion leaders. What type of country can Jefferson Koji that man be an opinion leader and secretary of a major political party? What type of country is this?
what type of what type of country is this that the most powerful CDC that we know about, we have such an illiterate man as a secretary general?
What
What
type
type
of
of country is this?
that takes us back
That
to
the secretary general of the CDC cannot even express himself in a sentence.
I tell you, the party is brain drain. And so
yeah.
part of the comeback, the setback for comeback should be
Yeah.
bloody leadership of the party.
Yeah, they need to restructure.
Right? You guys, Jefferson Koji done, but he got work to do, and he calling somebody, insulting somebody, fellow human being like himself, a well-married man,
Yeah.
to be relegating him to that kind of rather misinformation.
Yeah.
See that because it doesn't make sense. What type of country is so divided over corruption? That's what is divided. Liberia is divided over corruption because one
Yeah.
people feel they should continue to eat, and when you move them, they become disgruntled, and they just hate the people, the common people.
Yeah.
Who does this? They're
And
not,
now what?
they're not divided on important things, all because of corruption. The men in town over the finish, the money finish. You know,
But
money
man, you know, money goes so fast, eh?
last.
All the boys are broke, my man. And the bills will never go away, my man. People got to gas their cars every day.
In fact, the amenities in Liberia are so very, very small. So you got to come out of pocket from almost everything.
Yeah.
You got to be fuel. The free gas that they were getting it.
Nothing. So the people are disgruntled.
The time they were sold to put LEC oil around when they were in power, they didn't put it down, they're feeding it.
And they're feeling it now. They ain't put it in.
They gotta pay for generator, eh?
And they go to,
Whatever front.
I told him against, so he said, let me try to put my phone in the center so I can continue my lesson. So when I really built 12 ways,
Yeah.
that is why I don't have the way in the house.
Oh, of course, my man. Mage made way, oh. Mage made all the sacrifices, my man. He said, man, the last money I have, I will spend it. I gotta go in and send it to save my future.
I hook a crook. I gotta go. I will even obey all the roads in Magibi County. Send him build one pathway.
And after the election, the people started talking. He said, "But I trap my best. Ain't old man Boka here now. Let him take it over."
You see that gonna bylaw? You know, but the people said you have known better. The people should have known better. How can a man leave from where Bapolu and can't lie to you?
The man play on them, my man.
Closer to the capital city.
Yeah.
Zero people, he lied to them. He come to your who's so be close in a very county. You know how many schools in Kakata?
A lot.
Schools in the country.
A lot. All of good schools.
Good schools. So that educated people, you sit there and let a crook and the time of get leave.
And can't become senator for you.
You can't lie to your own building all the then now he revert his responsibility to Baka.
Is it a box? Every day people behind me say Bill Rowe. I try my best. The one after that Joseph Baka trouble.
He the president now, you better Rowe.
Oh, Liberia, funny.
Is he Balo, my man?
Whatever.
Balo
the former president, we are saying the current president is not serving the Liberian people.
Whatever country is in, like Alphonso, what is guy name? What the doorman name, man?
As it do,
I said, do are directors of communication of the CDC. Whatever country is here, brother.
you want to ask Samuel Jackson here, who always talking about LSE, London School of Economic,
Yeah, man, I advisor to the CDC.
Economic Affairs. Every day he bragging about all the papers and things, but we can see the papers and we see
Yes, yeah, man, CDC, we're in trouble, man. The guy Jefferson Koji who can barely express himself. The guy answered those who are like living outer space. Careful outside of you speaking Madingo.
Lead the people, let them speak that.
he doesn't go just speaking about Loma.
No, no, that kissy man, that kissy man. Koji not be speaking kissy man.
I'm up my look at him for long. He said, my man, auntie, I'm
I give it, yeah.
not give it.
But you know, I never mobile got a hotel. He said, the job we have made a mess space. And we are about to way out.
My mother saying he beat him on red man, like bro, now you call him.
Yeah.
And people running behind him. What kind of nonsense?
He said, what more?
He beat him on red man. He won't
The man
walk
I beat him all right. Advocate, my man, and then I got stand STAND.
NGO, the men settle NGO.
Yeah, message is a him all right. Advocate.
Oh, like, bro.
Man, the man who went to Liberia and told the people, say, I met with President Obama.
I met Obama. Sorry.
The mental picture of Obama placard.
Yeah, they said, man, what a picture.
And the car go to court.
It's too near the car, both on it, and took picture.
He took the picture. He said, man, want to see the one that you and the man shaking and the man couldn't produce it.
That one on there. They're not available.
Oh, Jesus. Whatever country is there when you work for the government, when they say time to tape it, my man, if you want to take a picture and put it on Facebook. And so you get one, my man, your landlord said, my man, my rent, oh.
They say we pay all government officials, we pay 5 ministries today, Ministry of Commerce, Transportation, Justice. Then when you get one, now you can't lie, say, I can't pay you.
You get loud, my man, if you need to give me. The people got you on video, my man. Everybody know that you took pay today.
You gotta pay my rent. My son need to pay my charity.
And so you get the law. I mean, so you get on my man, the lamb law, push on a ball spray. He said, my man, he said, no, my man, I keep for my money. Oh.
You pay people, you broadcast it. What gonna
You broadcast it. You put in the thing on social media, man. Yeah, come on.
Yeah, it seems as though they have accomplished something. Oh,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
you
And
know,
that's complete violation of people's privacy, you know. I work for you, I labor, so I take pay now the whole Monrovia got to know that.
And I take pay my people. Anyway, I find out the boys with LPA man, they always that harassing you.
Yeah. All the old man that used to go in the corner and say, oh man, let me just get something. I take pay, my man.
I think
You
they
get home, everybody to your house, oh.
I think they do it because when they have owed the people so much money, they want to come clean. They want to make it appear as they're doing something. And it's not
Yeah.
a favor you're doing.
Yeah, no favor. It's a violation of the people's privacy. No, you don't do that. Oh, but my man, why our national leaders behave so primitive like this, man? The world has evolved. I mean, if I take pay today, the entire Delaware should know that I've taken pay.
We know, President Warren.
I saw the people online this morning forget it. I was saying to myself, I said, it's just Liberia. They had the people online at the Monrovia Center Hall. You know the casual laborers?
Mhm.
They are cleaning the beaches and things.
Mhm.
They had the people in a queue, my man.
Tell the collector.
And Spoon TV movie with camera.
What type of country is this that CDC set back to come back ends without any achievement? Flomo, no.
Yeah.
So the boy in line. You
The
said
people say they coming back, oh.
you said the boy in line to collect.
Yeah, the people on they had the people they had the people in on a in a queue at the city corporation where they are going to get paid, my man. And camera moving around, my man. They were on spoon. So Volcano, it means that you're coming from Nuclear Time, my man. You can't go home to now.
Everybody know you got paid.
Because something together, my man. All the people say, my man, our money, oh. The people say our money.
All right.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll call it a day.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it was a great show.
Yeah. So we'll catch up Tuesday.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Flomo Livingstone, of course, Raymond Clark, Thomas Awaji, Hashim Fambule, Amar Freeman. Thank you. Amos Ganwe. It's always good seeing you. Bennett O'Kerner, Adiaha Umo. I'm losing my voice for all the laughter. Samuel Flomo Jr. All of you who showed up here tonight, we appreciate your viewership. Join us on Tuesday. We'll be back here with another presentation. Until then, Volcano Shelton saying, take care of yourself. For those of us on the East Coast, it's extremely hot. Yesterday, today, I don't know what the weekend will look like. I haven't checked the weather, but they said next week going to be even worse. So try to continue to take care of yourself. Stay indoors as necessary. People think that only Africa can be hot. America's heat is no joke. It's extremely hot. So drink a lot of fluids to keep yourself hydrated. We'll see you on Tuesday, God's willing. Good night.